This episode of Liberty Lines is brought to you by... It is important to understand that the Constitution does not create rights for anyone. It simply serves as a grant of power to and a blueprint for the structure of the federal government. The rights of the people existed before the founding of the United States. You do not have constitutional rights. You just have rights. To protect them, you must understand them. The book, A Republic If You Can Keep It, can help you with that understanding. Available at patsanswers.com/blog. Click on the store tab. $16.95 plus shipping and handling. All major credit cards are accepted. Buy it today. Sometimes I wonder if I'm living through a scene from the movie The Matrix, or simply reverting back to my childhood, watching nearly half the country play a game of let's pretend. Let's pretend the mainstream media actually tells the truth about Donald Trump, the election, and the virus, and everything else. Let's pretend that this is the USA, where only legal votes are counted, and not Venezuela or Russia. Let's pretend that there is no deep state and we can trust our justice system, the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA. Let's pretend this was the fairest election in history, with no evidence of fraud. Let's pretend that there is no problem with Dominion voting systems and no connection at all to Hugo Chavez, China, or any of the Democrat leaders. Let's pretend that Joe Biden isn't suffering from some significant mental decline. Let's pretend that Joe Biden earned more votes in this election than Barack Obama did in his. Let's pretend that there are no credible claims of sexual harassment against Joe Biden. Let's pretend that Joe Biden is a good Catholic and actually reads the Psalms regularly. Let's pretend that Joe Biden had no knowledge of the millions of dollars that Hunter received from enemies of this country, and those peoples and countries don't expect anything from Joe Biden should he become president. Let's pretend that Joe Biden is really calling the shots, and there aren't any deep state globalists actually pulling puppet strings. Let's pretend that Kamala Harris isn't actually the most liberal senator in the country, and there's no plan for her to be president anytime soon. Let's pretend that abortion is no big deal, and that the blood of 60 million babies is really not that important. Let's pretend that Antifa is just an idea, and that it held mostly peaceful protests. Let's pretend that BLM does not have any Marxist roots, nor declare desire to destroy the nuclear family. Let's pretend that Donald Trump is a racist, even though he secured more African American support than any Republican in modern history. Let's pretend that there's no deep state conspiracy against President Trump, and there is no coordinated worldwide effort to diminish America's influence and sovereignty and reset the world order. And let's pretend that there's no plan to take away your right to bear arms, your freedom of speech, your right to assemble, and your right to religious expression. But then I am shaken back to my senses and realize that this is not a game of let's pretend at all. In fact, this is undoubtedly the most momentous time in our nation's history since the Civil War. The very future of our republic is at risk if we cannot or will not ensure safe, fair, and honest elections. The very future of our republic is at risk when the DOJ, FBI, and media refuse to seriously investigate charges of payoffs, hundreds of eyewitness accounts of voter fraud, and vote manipulation by foreign enemies of our country, including China and Iran. The very future of our republic is at risk when perhaps millions of Americans are willing to turn a blind eye to the harassment, threats, and intimidation against the many brave citizens who have come forward to file hundreds of affidavits of voter fraud. Let no one question. We are at war. And our war is, first, not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. That comes from Ephesians 6:12. The God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelieving so they cannot see. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. God help us and wake America up to the urgency of the hour, and may He open our eyes and grant us wisdom in this hour, as He did the sons of Issachar. The sons of Issachar, men who understood the times with knowledge of what Israel should do. 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. This has been Liberty Lines, brought to you by Pat Answers Archives. Subscribe at patsanswers.com/blog. We look forward to seeing you again.